So this is my book. It's all about CRM. And so most people think that, oh, this book does not apply to us. The reality is this book applies to everybody. So if I took a look inside, and let me see if I can, I want to talk about, come on. Okay, oh, that went too small. And that's too big, never mind. So what I talk about here is like, when we talk about marketing and sales and support and back office, do you guys all feel you have that in nonprofits? What is your marketing? Campaigns? Campaigns, right? Like how many of you do send out mass emails? All of you, right? What is that? That's marketing, right? When you are going out looking for donations, what is that? When you have your funding officers out there, you know, paving the streets to get money coming in, what is that? Sales, right? So when a donor calls in and says, hey, I gave you money and you know what, but I just discovered this and I have a problem, what do? Support, right? So the concepts that I have in my book apply to any business, no matter what your business is, whether you are non-profit, for-profit, or higher education. And when we're implementing Salesforce, you have to think about the same concepts. It's like, how do I prepare? What do I need, right? Like, how do I go on about organizing it? How do I get my stakeholders involved? How do I get my users involved? That's what's all in my book. Like asking the right questions, handling objections. How do you do requirements gathering? How many of you, like say, someone says, oh, build this field, and you go and build it? Nobody? Surprisingly, because nobody wants to raise their hand, right? So basically, this book is all about helping you become a super admin and a super business analyst in your own organization so that you can grow your career and keep elevating it, right? Because the more you engage with your stakeholders, the better chances you have to move up in the organization, right? So the book, it's a Kindle book, which is much more affordable, but I am giving 3 away today. So make sure you put your cards in. We'll do a raffle at the very end. And so with that, how about we just start and get going? And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Deepa Patel. I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for over 11 years, and I have 6 certifications. My admin, I can't even count anymore. Admin, Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, Pardot Email Specialist, Marketing Cloud Email Specialist, and Nonprofit Cloud Consultant. And I feel like I'm missing something. But anyways, I've been a Salesforce MVP since 2012, and I've been speaking at Dreamforce since 2012. So if you guys, anyone want to see a lot of my older presentations, they're on my LinkedIn profile, and they have links to the videos. And in the last couple years, I've transitioned from the for-profit industry into the nonprofit industry, and I now work for Sierra Cedar, and we work with a lot of higher education institutions and nonprofit, and let me tell you, I'm really happy here. It's a great organization, and I have such a great chance of growing my own career and elevating it to even the next level beyond where I am today, okay? So, just went through Twitter. Take pictures, please. I should have you come up here and take pictures, because I never have pictures when I'm presenting. Just kidding. Twitter handle @DPCRMGuru. So please take pictures and post comments up there. Okay, and this is the link if anyone wants to buy the book. Here's the URL to Amazon for the book. And then let's just dive into what am I talking about today. So today I'm going to talk about a lot of ability to do dynamic messaging and visibility in the Lightning page layout. Now, how many of you are on Lightning already? Most of you. How many of you are aware of all the different functionality that's available in the Lightning page builder? Wow. Nobody? Come on in.
Thank you.
Are you going to scan it?
I will, but
Okay.
I'm recording right now. I'll get you at the end.
All right.
All is a strong word.
All right, well, hopefully then, I mean, since hardly anybody raised their hand, I'm hoping that this session is very useful to you all, okay? So I'm gonna start with dynamic page layout alert messages, right? Like how many times you've heard like stakeholders say, well, send me an email when something goes wrong. How many of you have that? Like, I wanna know when something goes wrong, send me an email, right? So one way to engage the stakeholders from not getting emails and really logging into Salesforce and looking at the information they should be looking at is what I call alert messages. The next one, what I'm going to talk about is field visibility on the page layout, okay? Like Salesforce has some great functionality that allows you to build dynamic page layouts where you can control what fields are going to show by filtering by either profiles or roles or even a condition, like with a formula. And what it does is it gives you the opportunity to narrow down all your page layouts into one page layout. With Lightning, you literally do not need multiple page layouts unless you have a record type which drives the path. Other than that, you really don't need multiple page layout. How many of you have like 100 to 200 fields on the page layout? Nobody? She does. You do. Okay. This second feature, field visibility, it is going to help you so much because now what you're doing is you're keeping the user on that same page layout, but you're dynamically showing fields that are relevant to them at that time in the process, right? So you're not over like, you know, making them scroll up and down and creating 5 different page layouts and making a nightmare for yourselves as an admin. Then I'm going to talk about dynamic application pages. How many of you have incorporated an application page? Nobody. Wow. And then how many of you actually do customizable roll-ups? A lot of you. All right, so what I'm showing is a trick in there for grants management in there and being able to look at, I'm not going to give it away. And then how many of you have used confetti? 1 person, 2 people. All right, so I'm going to show you a fun way to look at confetti. So our business scenario here is, and obviously our donations are opportunities, right? So if an opportunity close date has been pushed 5 times, right? This is a real life scenario, guys. A lot of times when we look at opportunities, we're forecasting that I'm going to expect $100,000 next month, right? What does a fundraising officer do? Move it 5 times, 6 times, because they think that they're going to get the donation from the constituent today or this month, but then it's like, no, it's not happening. No, it's not happening, right? So what this does is this allows you to create a message and say, hey, you've moved your opportunity too many times now, right? You need to stop doing that. Now, I could, like my scenario just talks about a alert message. I could also add a validation rule in there, saying if you've moved this more than 6 times, I'm sorry. You cannot absolutely close this deal without a manager's approval, right? So my scenario is simple, where I am saying if the close date is moved 5 times, just show me a message. Let the manager see a message on the page layout. So how do I build this? So the first thing I'm going to do is create a formula field. By the way, I am logged into my org where I built this, so at the end of the presentation, if we have any questions, I can go in and show you what all I've done. So I am logged in and it's there, and I do talk fast, so hopefully I'll go fast enough where I can go in and interactively show you things, right? So I'm basically building a formula, like so I'm building a field here. It's a number field, and my default value in the number field is 0. So I'm starting out with 0 as my number field counter. So when I put it on the page layout, it's going to say close date push counter is 0. Now, who knows how can I increment this? What do I have to build to increment this? What?
Formula?
No. Process builder. So because what are we checking for? We're checking for is the close date changed, then increment the counter. You can't do that with a formula, because you want to increment every single time the close date keeps moving. So I have a process builder, and I'm starting with saying update the opportunity counter. And by the way, I am going to post this presentation, and these are detailed instructions on how to do it. And then I'm saying select the object opportunity, because I want this counter on the opportunity object. And then my criteria is, so I'm going to use it every time. So, you know, when you start with it, it's record created and edited, right? Because I want to know, I want it kicking off every time I save an opportunity record. And then I'm saying, is the opportunity close date changed? So the way to see if anything has changed in Salesforce, you use is changed equals true. So that's my criteria here. And if I'm doing that, then what I'm going to do is update my opportunity record. And then I'm going to increment my push counter by 1. This is hard to see, so I put it over there. The close date push counter plus 1. So what happens the next time the close date changes? The counter goes and updates it to 1. So it's going to keep incrementing it every single time the close date changes, right? So here's what I want you guys to think about. Think about how creatively you can use this for something else that you need in your organization. It's not just about the close date, right? Like there's so many different applications of just this one little concept in your company. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my Lightning Record Page Builder, and how many of you have seen this? The whole component window on the left-hand side, right? So there's a rich text component there on the left-hand side. So I'm taking that rich text component and I'm dropping it right underneath my path on the page layout, right? As soon as I drop it, on the right-hand side, I get my properties window. So this kind of goes a little bit into what I call the object-oriented programming methodology, right? Like when I drop something, I have its attributes. So this is what we call its property window. And in this property window, I am typing my message saying, this opportunity close date has been moved so many times, mark the opportunity close lost and encourage the prospect or potential donor to close the deal, right? Like, I mean, you can put any message you want. The great thing about this text editor, you can have links to external videos, you can put images, you can format this however you want. So if you think about it, there was something really important that you wanted to display to the fundraising officer. Let's say you had a checklist of certain activities that needed to happen after you closed your deal, right? Like after you got the donation, now you want to make sure that the funding officer has all the instructions saying, don't forget to do this, which includes sending a thank you letter. I mean, most of the time you would automate it, but not everybody automates it, but it's like, send them a gift. Well, you're not allowed to send gifts, but like whatever that checklist is, right? So you could, another example is creating that checklist. So what happens is, how do I invoke this just when the counter is greater than or equal to 5? So if you notice, on here at the bottom, there is a set component visibility. So in this properties window, after I've typed my message and I hit enter, underneath I have a caret that says set component visibility. And when I click on that, I'm adding a filter, and my filter is close date. So you kind of have to go through this whole UI. And I'm clicking my close date push counters. I'm finding that field, and I'm saying it's greater than or equal to 5. Then and only then kick off this message. So if you think about this, this is so powerful because you're rendering important messages at the right time in the process when something is happening, right? So when you're talking to your stakeholders, when you're talking to your users, when you're talking to, even managers, like the conversation is not about what field you want to build. The conversation is, how do we want to address this process? And what can we do to make this process easier for the end users, right? That's where the conversation happens. So what happens is when my push counter is 5, the message pops up right underneath the path. How cool is that?
Pretty cool.
Right? Okay. Any questions on this? Nope. Let's move on. So dynamic fields visibility. Does everybody here use campaigns? Does everybody have a hierarchy in a campaign? You do, right? So what happens is, right out of the box, there's something happens in campaign. So here's my campaign list, right? Like I've got the National Leadership Conference, and then I've got my child campaigns underneath for each year, right? Very simple, nothing big. What happens is when I go look at the campaign record, if it's a child campaign, you will see the same values repeated, because if you look at responses in campaign and responses in hierarchy, they're all on the same page, right? So earlier, the speaker talked about, I don't know how, some of you were here, right? Like that by default, these campaign hierarchy numbers are hidden. So when you expose them, they show up in the same section, right? So Astro's like, what do I do? This is distracting for end users. So what I'm gonna show you is a way to actually only show that when the campaign is a parent campaign, and then the child does not have a parent, right? Like it's like you don't see it in the child record, you only see it if that campaign is a parent campaign. So what I do is, the first thing I do is take all the hierarchy numbers off the page layout. Completely take it off the classic page layout, right? Because behind the scenes, we still have the classic page layout that holds that data, those fields. So I take it off that, and then the consultants, I have a feeling you guys have done this. Have you guys done this? No? Wow. Yay! So then what you do is you create a new lightning action. How many of you guys have heard of lightning actions? Do you guys all use it? No. All right. This is the most powerful thing, and I should not say this because we're getting recorded. I'm not going to say it, but anyways, no. But this is, it's gonna turn in, it's gonna get better and better and better. Okay, so this is what allows me to, a lightning action allows me to display those fields on a page layout and put a filter on it. So what I'm doing here is I'm saying I'm going to create a new action on the campaign object, right? So I go to the campaign object, click on new action, and then I say, give it a label, give it a name. So I'm not going by the standard label, I'm giving it a custom label, and I'm calling it show campaign hierarchy. Always, 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 what the rule of thumb of admins?
Register.
Put a description. Because if you do not put a description, not only will you get confused later on going, what did I build this for? But your like someone who comes after you will be like, what did you do? Why did you do this, right? Always put a description. And by the way, Elements.Cloud program, they inherit that. Yes, they do a great job of, how many of you are familiar with Elements.Cloud? One or two? How many of you struggle to figure out what has been built and where has it been built in Salesforce? Just a few of you? Go talk to Alyssa. Elements.Cloud is like the most awesome product that allows you that if you say I want to change a field, it'll tell you where all that field is embedded and what the impact is going to be. And it's not an expensive product. It's one of the cheapest products on the App Exchange. So once I've created my action, the action has its own page layout. So just like how we have, like our classic page layout, the action has its own page layout. And this is where I come and drag and drop my hierarchy fields. All right, I put them on this page layout. Salesforce will give you a message that it's not a good idea to put more than 8 fields, like it'll degrade performance, but my use case here is I'm not gonna use it all the time, so I'm not worried about performance, right? Like if you were doing a lot of processing, you do have to worry about it, but here you don't, right? So then I save that, and then I come into my Lightning page layout, and in my component, there's a component called related record, all right? It doesn't make sense. Like, why would you call it related record? Because I'm not pulling in a related record for this instance, right? But that's what you have to use, is a related record. And then I take that component and I drop it on the page layout. And when you do that, it gives you a drop down and you select the action that you just created. So you could have multiple actions that you create. So those of you who have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of fields, right? Like instead of having the user to scroll up and down, right, the page layout, you create actions and display them in different sections with visibility filters so that your page is not so like condensed and it's like, oh my God, I hate Salesforce. How many of your users say I hate Salesforce? Nobody? Oh my God, you have no idea how many sales reps I've talked to and said, I hate Salesforce. And I said, it's not Salesforce. It's not been designed for you, right? So what you do is when you drop that component, so I do show you there, the related record component, I give it a label so that when you're looking at that component, you're looking at it, it tells you exactly what it is. I say use this campaign because you can use a related record campaign, like another record that's related to this campaign and show fields as well. So I say use this campaign and there's my action, right? I pull in my action and then I put in my filter. Because I only want to show it if the campaign is a parent campaign. Otherwise, I don't want to show it. There was no point in me taking it off the page layout and doing all this work, right? So then I put a filter and I said that where the parent campaign name is blank. Because that's what tells me that this is a child campaign, right? Because where the parent campaign is blank, that means it's a child campaign with no parent, okay? And when I do that, here's a campaign, right? I've got a campaign, and you can see my hierarchy numbers, and there's my, where did I go? Trust me, this is a parent campaign. When I go to the child campaign, you're not gonna see that, right? So how useful is that?
So
Yeah.
here you could do that. You do that with any object.
Any object. I'm just using the campaign example because I'm like when I see that hierarchy numbers drove me crazy for years and years and years and years. I'm like, ugh.
And you can put a filter on user, right?
Yes, all the way to profiles, roles, users. Yeah, and so what I do is I create, so if I go back, let me go back up a couple. So if I am here, nothing is stopping me for creating yet another component, doing the same thing and setting different visibility filters. So as an admin, my page layout might be a little bit more, but for the end user, they're just staying in this realm, right? for the end user, they're not going up and down because I am dynamically showing them data based on their user, their profile, their role, or even like, as I said, like a condition, a formula condition, right? Yes?
Can you do that with like editable fields? Like edit in that little
Yeah,
subset? Okay.
yeah, absolutely. In the back, they're just fields, right? Like, and that's dependent upon your permission. If you have rights to edit, you can still edit it. These are all editable fields.
In that little component, you still can.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I like hierarchy numbers are not editable, right? But if I had fields in here for editable fields and if the user had the permission to change it, absolutely. It's all about just dynamic visibility, right? Like that's all. The concept is to not frustrate the end user and get really good user adoption, right? Like that's the key, and that's why Lightning was built for increasing the user adoption, right? Any other questions? And then if we have time, I can definitely go in and show you some of these. Especially I want to show the accordion. How many of you have used the accordion component? Oh my God, it's such a great thing. I love tabs and I love accordion, okay? Because it allows me to do fun things with it. All right, let's talk about quickly application pages. So my concept here is, you know, like everybody's like, I want dashboards, 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 and I want to see this and I want to see that, right? So the concept of application pages is building a page besides my home page. So if you think about it, your home page, when I'm in a setup here, but like I'll come and explain. When you're on a home page, the home page is data that is relevant to everybody in the organization. Now, I mean, now you can also build multiple home pages, right? But like it's more about data relevant for the whole organization. Application pages is data relevant for a group of people, right? So how do I go on about building it? So I go to the Lightning App Builder, I click on New Application, and it gives me the options of which one am I building. Am I building an application page, am I building a home page, or am I building a record page, right? So we all know Lightning record pages. I'm gonna select the app page, and then it's gonna ask me, what template do I wanna use? We have access to a lot more templates now. I didn't go and take a new screenshot, but there's a lot more options there. And so once I select my template, I'm giving the label. So in my example here, this is for volunteers. How many of you have volunteers who help you? Do you guys all use V4S? Right? So if I want volunteer stats, right? Like just at a glance. I don't want to go to a dashboard. I don't want to run a report. Just at a glance, I want to see volunteer stats. That's what I'm building here. And I'm bringing in all different components. So this is a list view component that I brought in here. Okay, so it's actually showing me a list view. The others are chart components, okay? So this list view is available jobs right there, and you can see at the top it says a list view, right? So I can drop a list view component right there. I can drop a report chart component, right? And those are all report chart components there. And on top of that, with this report here, I am setting it just for managers. So I'm creating yet another filter that if the profile name contains manager, then and only then show me that component. Otherwise, don't show me that chart because the chart is just for managers, right? So what I'm doing is I'm creating a page for all people, managers, users who are managing volunteers, right? And so I set my visibility component there, and anytime you place a filter, Salesforce will display an orange yellow icon there saying there's a filter on it. So you know that there's a filter, and then that's what your page looks like, right? So now I'm on my home page, and right next to my home page is this application page, right? And it's showing me this right off the bat, and it's like, oh, we have jobs available that have not been filled. I better get my button gear, right? So this is like a very quick way of displaying information for your end users, especially when you have, you know, stakeholders or managers who are like, I don't want to log into Salesforce. Like, guess what? You do have to log into Salesforce now, right? Stop emailing them dashboards, right? Any questions? Okay, and then I'll come in and I'll show you. I'm not keeping a track of time where we are, 10:44. Okay, I need to go a little faster. So, customizable roll-ups. So, how many of you actually have used the grants management feature that's built in NPSP? A few of you. Do you ever go into that and go? When I worked at the National MS Society, we had the concept where we got the grants. So you know, a donor gave us money and we got the grant, and then we awarded that grant to researchers, right? And then our funding officers replenish that grant money with other donations, right? So there were two types. There were grants that we got from either a donor or we got from government, like, a lot of those institutions out there that give you grants. So we got the money from somewhere else, we awarded it, and then we need to replenish the funds that we've awarded, right? So this scenario is based on that. And so if you look at the grants by itself, it just tells you what the grant amount is. It doesn't tell you, like, what is it going to take to replenish that, or how many opportunities are in there, what is the balance, like, it doesn't tell you on any of that. So what I've done is I've done some formulas and customization to say, my grant is $1 million, right? Like, I have $500,000 that's in open opportunities, and I have so much closed, and so now I still have to fill this is my gap. That's what this scenario is showing you. So what I've got is I'm building two custom fields. One is required funding amount, and the other is open opportunities amount, because right off the bat, Salesforce doesn't show you, it shows you closed opportunities. On the grant record, it shows you closed opportunity amount, but not open opportunity amount. So I have that. I've created those two fields. Then I go into my customizable roll-ups. I create a new roll-up, and this is where I'm saying, okay, I want to look at my GAU unit. I want to look at the open opportunities amount. I want to sum all time, right? Like all the opportunities associated with this GAU. And then I want to aggregate all of that to my allocation amount, right? So I'm setting up that customizable roll-up. And then what I'm doing is I am taking it and subtracting it from my required funding amount. And you will see it looks complicated, but when the fields are on the page layout, so once again, I am putting some conditions in here and separating it out, showing it, I really like segmenting all the fields out in different sections so that it's not mumble jumbled in there. And then so now, if you look at this, I have my GAU allocations, right? So these are all my opportunities that are associated with this general accounting unit, which is our funding, right? These two are my closed one, which totals into the closed opportunity. That is there by default, right? And then this is my open opportunity amount. It doesn't show anywhere on the page layout by default, but now I'm showing that total over here. And this is my formula field that says, I still need to go out there and get so much more money to make sure that I've replenished this GAU, which is for $150,000. Does that make sense? Right? So think about what you can do with customizable roll-ups, all the different kinds of calculations that you can create, but things that are not out of the box. Yeah?
Is there a limit to how many customizable roll-ups you use?
I don't know. I think there is. I would need to look it up. I think there is. You might want to check out the documentation on the .org site.
Okay.
But I honestly, if you run out of those,
or something like that.
yeah. No, it's not small.
Okay.
It's not small. I don't think that it's small. Okay. All right. The last thing I want to show is confetti. Okay. So I'm like, and I've got a sales rep here. Funding officer, whoever, right? So I thought I'd change this, and I didn't. It did not save my changes. I actually wanted, my scenario is volunteers. So, we all work hard, right? Like our volunteer leaders work so hard on putting on events and, finding volunteers, like just the way our wonderful volunteers here are, like that goes so much work in there, right? So when a volunteer event is completed, why not celebrate and say, hey, thank you for doing such a great job, right? So what I have is, I have a field on the volunteer job object called volunteer job status, all right? Then what I'm doing is I'm creating a path. So it says planned, in progress, completed. Very simple status. Is the volunteer job planned? Yes. I planned it for next month. When next month comes, it's in progress. Is what that allows you to do is kind of look at all your volunteer jobs and go, where are we? Almost like, when you have campaign statuses, the same way. And then I am bringing in, so here's another great thing about paths. You are gathering data and information as you're going through the process, and if you put the fields right up here, saying when I'm in this status, I want these 5 things that are crucial, you're making it very easy for the end users to be able to put the fields, collect data, click on complete, go, and you can also have your instructions right there. It's called guided selling. That's what they call. So it's like, don't forget to do this, right? Make sure you've gone through this checklist. That can all show up right there. And then you said, when do I want the confetti? So I'm saying I only want the confetti when the volunteer job is completed. And then it says, how often do you want to show it? Now I have always, because if I don't, then it won't show up, you know, like, but I mean, honestly, I like it. If volunteer jobs are something that are like, okay, it takes some time to complete, right? So celebrate every time you do that. And so what's going to happen is you add that path to the Lightning page layout. So when you add the path, it's also going to show you your instructions there, right? Like with the fields that you need. So instead of scrolling up and down on this details page, it's right there. It's right at the top of my page. And I know that I need to collect this information. And when I do, when I mark it completed, confetti, right? Yeah, woohoo! I did such a great job. My managers love me, right? Okay, so those are my 5 tips. Please, please, please take the survey. As I said, it's so important for us to get the survey results, so please take the survey. And do we have the cards?
So did
I'm
we
looking
miss
at
it?
the
We had a
time.
couple later people come in for the book raffle. We're taking cards.
Okay, Alyssa, you wanna come and do the honors, my friend?
Thank you.
You do have to be present to win.
We're gonna do it fast.
Okay,
So I get to choose 3?
yeah, you gotta
Alright.
choose 3.
So
And then I'll go show, as soon as we're done, we've got like a few minutes left, I'll go and show the accordion component.
the first one is Lisa Giefer. Pronounce it then, please.
Okay, let me do something.
And then,
And your email's on here, right?
and Julie Schaefer. Did a really good mix in here. And Dan Walker.
Yay! Thank you guys. Yes, thank you. Okay, as soon as I'm done making this note, does everybody have this number? Because the number is unique. This number is very unique to me. So take a screenshot. Please make sure. Okay, so let's quickly go to Salesforce, right? So I'm gonna go to my setup. Okay, and in my scenario, what I've done is I've used the accordion component for, so first of all, as I said, I love tabs, but I've used my accordion component for these charts here, right? So if you look at this, like look at this page, and let me make it a little smaller so we can all see on that just one page, right? So I have my variance report that shows me how many donations did we have last year versus how many donations have we had this year, right? 2-year variance. The great thing I love about this, when I go to the gift variance, guess what just happened? Did it take me down the page? It didn't, right? It just it collapsed the first chart, and now it's giving me the second chart saying, we have 173% negative variance, like Joanna has given us less money this year than she did last year. What does this translate into? It translates into a conversation as why. You know, is her money going somewhere else? What do we have to do to make sure we, encourage the, like the relationship building? And, is there, do we need to take them out to dinner, or do we, which normally you're not allowed, but like how do we encourage Joanna to come back and give us more money? So there's multiple ways to get to the Lightning page layout. One way is just when I'm on the record itself, I go to setup, and when I click on edit page, it's gonna bring me into my Lightning page layout, okay? Now, as I said, I really love tabs as well, so I'm gonna show you 2 things really quick. At the bottom here, I have these tabs, right? So, and I can't, so I do, so that tabs component is already on my page layout here. And so I've got like related, details, news, and if I wanted to add another related list, all I do is come in here, click add, and it defaults to default or details, and I come in here and I create custom, and I'm just gonna say this is a new list. I'm literally like just going through this right now, right? So I've got my new list. When I click on the tab, now it brings me another component. So all I do is come back here and see how on the left I have related list single, related list single, related quick links, related lists, and a related record. So if I do a related list single, it's gonna bring me a list of all my related lists that are on my account page, right? And so if I come here and I'm just gonna select my account soft credits. Now what I'm doing is, instead of having that long related list on the page layout, right? I'm separating it out and saying, now I'm gonna just show it over here, right? I love keep save. Everything I do, click on save, okay? So the same way here, there is a accordion component right here, all right? Yeah, I know I need to select an insert point. So I'm just gonna come here and say, okay, so this is my accordion component that I drag and dropped here, right? So if I add selection, now guess what? I could add a related one here as well. So if you look at this one showed up saying related, and I can come in here and rename this to custom name. And so now I have a component here, right? So I can go back and let's say if I want to grab another report chart component, okay? So if I come down here and see this report chart, I drag and drop it on top, and then it will show me a list of all my reports that are here, all right? So let's say I have cases by reason that I want to show on here. So I'm showing how many support cases I got. So think about it. If I am a stakeholder or even a fundraising officer, one accordion component is showing me my donation revenue variance. Another one is showing how many times these constituents call into support, right? So all I do is click save, click on back, and I now have all my 3 components here, right? So first of all, I have this new list, and if I had records, I would have that here, right? Otherwise I can go create soft credits, but look at that. There's right there. So I've seen people who've got like 15 different accordion components, because what it does is you're not scrolling up and down. The biggest frustration for all users is scrolling up and down, way too much information. So what this allows you to do, like think about how much dynamic content you can build just in one page layout, and all you need is one lightning page layout and one classic page layout. Because you're stripping things out, and you're dynamically showing it. So your adoption goes up, because if I'm looking at this on my iPad or on my phone, I'm out of time.
Yeah, it's about, I think so, right?
It's 11 a.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're almost done.
Okay, I'm just
I'm
letting
not
you
showing
know.
anything more.
Just letting you know.
I mean, I could go on and on and on for hours, right? Like, I mean, there's just so much I do with this, but what this is allows you to really build a great application for your end users to go, I love Salesforce, and I'm gonna use it, right? Thank you so much. For those of you who won the books, you will get an email from Amazon, so please accept. You have no idea how many times I've given away books and they will never reclaim the code, because I have to pay Amazon up front whether you accept it or not. So make sure you accept it, okay? Thank you so much, and please take the survey, please, because the more you guys give good scores, the more chances are I'll be back next year. So thank you.